Korean press has been used to defining which artists matter, who deserves recognition, and which figures are representative of Korean culture abroad. But Jungkook doesn't fit into the molds they built. He was never meant to be this unstoppable solo force. In their eyes, he was the youngest member, the golden maknae, someone talented but still part of a group identity. Now, in America, he stands as something entirely different. A phenomenon whose name alone moves markets, drives brands, and commands the attention of fans and critics alike. And yet, Korean media continues to approach this with doubt. Why? The answer lies not in facts. They cannot deny his record-breaking streams, his massive radio presence in America, or his unprecedented crossover appeal, but in comfort. Jungkook's success in America represents a reality that unsettles their sense of control over how K-pop is perceived globally. If Jungkook is acknowledged as the most popular artist in America, then the narrative shifts from K-pop as a collective phenomenon to Jungkook as an individual force. That shift is frightening for media outlets that have built their industry coverage around the idea that no single artist defines global recognition, that the Korean wave is larger than any one person. But Jungkook challenges this. He proves that even in the most competitive and saturated market in the world, one Korean artist can dominate without the cushion of group activity, without the shield of K-pop phenomenon, and without the dependency on collective branding. His rise in America is individual, raw, and undeniable, and that is precisely why Korean media struggles to believe it. The disbelief also comes from how quickly his success in America escalated. Korean media expected gradual recognition, slow building popularity, or perhaps limited attention from niche audiences. Instead, Jungkook entered the American scene with explosive force. His singles didn't just chart, they took over. His presence on platforms like TikTok and Spotify didn't just trend, they dominated for weeks, often outpacing major American pop stars who had been established for decades. For Korean media, this sudden leap felt too abrupt to process. Instead of celebrating it as a natural extension of his artistry, they questioned whether it was sustainable, whether it was real, or whether it was merely a temporary fascination of Western audiences. This skepticism says more about the limitations of their vision than about Jungkook's reality. In truth, Jungkook's popularity in America is not fleeting, it is built on the strongest foundation any artist can have. The connection between voice and audience. American fans are not just consuming his music because he is Korean or because he is part of BTS. They are listening because his songs resonate, his performances captivate, and his authenticity speaks louder than marketing strategies. When he releases a song, people listen not out of obligation but out of genuine desire. This type of popularity is not fragile. It is the kind that cements an artist as unforgettable. And still, the disbelief persists. Korean media often attempts to downplay his US dominance by reminding audiences that he is still a member of BTS, as though his achievements cannot be separated from the group. But American audiences already see him differently. In America, Jungkook is recognized as Jungkook, the artist, the performer, the global star. BTS will always be his foundation. But in the US music landscape, his name now stands firmly on its own. The hesitation of Korean media to accept this separation reveals their discomfort with change. They fear what it means if Jungkook is recognized as a singular artist leading the way in America. It means that the traditional narrative of Korean artists only succeeding collectively begins to crumble. This disbelief is not only frustrating for fans who see the obvious truth, but it also raises emotional questions about recognition and validation. How can an artist be celebrated by the biggest platforms, brands, and audiences in America, yet still not receive full belief from the press of his own country? It feels like a betrayal of the very pride they should feel. For fans and observers, it creates a sense of irony. America celebrates him more openly than Korea does. The country that should be shouting his name the loudest often seems to whisper it the most reluctantly. And this is where the heart of the matter lies. Jungkook's story in America is not just about numbers, charts, or awards. It is about a young man who built his career from the ground up, who overcame doubts, who worked relentlessly to sharpen his craft, and who stepped onto the global stage with nothing but his voice, his presence, and his honesty. That story deserves recognition not only abroad, but at home. Yet Korean media struggles to believe it, perhaps because believing it requires rewriting their own standards of success. But whether they accept it or not, the truth remains unshakable. Jungkook has become the most popular Korean artist in America. The stadiums, the charts, the streaming platforms, the cultural presence all testify to his dominance. Korean media can delay acknowledging it, but they cannot erase it, and the more they hesitate, the more obvious their disconnect becomes. The world has already moved forward, embracing Jungkook as a leading figure in American music. The disbelief of Korean media doesn't stop his momentum. It only exposes their inability to grasp the scale of what he has achieved. To speak about Jungkook's place in America is to speak about a phenomenon that very few artists, let alone Korean artists, have managed to achieve. His name alone sparks instant recognition. His releases are met with anticipation that most US pop stars can only dream of. And his influence stretches beyond music into fashion, culture, and even lifestyle trends. These are not exaggerations. They are realities supported by hard data, cultural shifts, and the visible footprint Jungkook leaves wherever he goes. And yet, when these truths reach Korean media, they are often greeted not with celebration, but with doubt, as though something so powerful could not possibly belong to a Korean artist unless filtered through skepticism. Let us begin with the most undeniable evidence. The numbers. In the American music industry, charts are not just symbols, they are the scoreboard of success. Jungkook's singles, whether released as part of collaborative projects or as solo tracks, have consistently entered and dominated Billboard charts. He has not only broken into the Hot 100, but has occupied high-ranking positions, competing with and often surpassing established American artists who have decades of industry presence. This is not an easy feat, nor is it one that can be dismissed as the byproduct of fandom alone. The Billboard system, along with streaming and radio airplay, reflects a balance of organic public consumption. And Jungkook has proven time and again that his music resonates across demographics. On streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, Jungkook's dominance is even clearer. He has repeatedly broken records for first-day and first-week streams, not just within the K-pop category, but in the broader global pop scene. His songs reach millions in hours, and his monthly listeners on Spotify place him alongside the world's biggest pop names. American listeners are not simply tuning in out of curiosity, they are staying. They are adding his tracks to their daily playlists, sharing them on social platforms, and making his songs part of their cultural lexicon. Beyond numbers, there is the matter of cultural presence. And here lies perhaps the strongest evidence of Jungkook's unique place in America. His music becomes viral trends on TikTok. His fashion choices spark discussions on Instagram and Twitter, X, And his name consistently trends not because of controversy, but because of genuine admiration and attention. When Jungkook walks into an American airport, he doesn't just arrive, he makes headlines. When he appears on an American talk show, he doesn't just perform, he dominates the conversation the following day. This kind of cultural penetration cannot be fabricated. It is earned, and Jungkook has earned it through his charisma, his artistry, and his ability to connect on a personal level with audiences far removed from his roots in Korea. And yet, despite all this, Korean media often chooses to frame these achievements as anomalies rather than milestones. Reports tend to highlight the fact of his popularity but quickly qualify it, suggesting that it may be temporary or that it is primarily fan-driven rather than organically embraced by the wider American public. This reluctance to accept Jungkook's position in America reveals an undercurrent of doubt that has less to do with him and more to do with the media's discomfort. It is almost as though they fear that acknowledging his dominance would mean admitting that one artist has managed to surpass the collective narrative of K-pop in America. This is where the emotional complexity of the situation emerges. For Jungkook, his American popularity is not just about chart positions or viral trends, it is about validation of his artistry, on a stage where very few Korean soloists have ever stood. He is not simply filling arenas because he is part of a famous group. He is filling them because his name alone has become magnetic. Yet the lack of full acknowledgement from his own country's media creates an invisible barrier between him and the recognition he deserves at home. One could argue that the Korean media's hesitation also stems from the nature of his success. Jungkook's rise in America did not follow the traditional paths they are used to covering. He did not rely heavily on Korean promotions, nor did he need the constant push of domestic media narratives to validate his position. His success was largely independent, fueled by international platforms, social media virality, and the direct connection he built with audiences abroad. For a media landscape accustomed to playing gatekeeper, this independence is uncomfortable. It means they had little role in shaping his story in America, and therefore they struggle to own it as part of Korea's narrative of global success. The irony is sharp. While Korean media hesitates, American institutions openly embrace him. U.S. award shows invite him. American journalists write about him with respect and admiration, and global brands headquartered in the U.S. line up to collaborate with him. He has become the face of campaigns that dominate billboards in Times Square and Los Angeles. His image sells not just to K-pop fans, but to mainstream American consumers who may not even know the full history of BTS. For them, Jungkook is not just a K-pop idol. He is a global star. And this is precisely why Korean media's disbelief rings hollow. The evidence of his popularity in America is overwhelming, visible, and undeniable. To question it is not to question Jungkook, it is to question reality itself. Fans see it, international media sees it, American audiences live it, and global brands capitalize on it. The only ones who seem reluctant to fully embrace it are the ones who should, in theory, be most proud. But here lies another layer of opinion worth addressing. Perhaps Korean media's disbelief is not purely about denial, but about fear of change. If they fully recognize Jungkook's dominance in America, they must also confront the possibility that Korean pop has entered a new phase 1 in which individual artists, not groups, may become the defining faces of international success. This shift undermines years of coverage, built around the idea that K-pop's power lies in its collectivity, its synchronized groups, and its system-driven success. Jungkook represents something different. The individual who transcends the system, who proves that charisma, talent, and individuality can carry as much weight as group identity. This realization is uncomfortable, but it is also inevitable. No amount of hesitation can change the reality that Jungkook's achievements in America have rewritten the possibilities for Korean artists abroad. Korean media can choose to disbelieve, but the global audience has already decided. They listen, they stream, they attend, and they recognize. That recognition is stronger than any headline, louder than any cautious article, and more permanent than any narrative designed to downplay his success. At its core, the situation reveals a disconnect between perception and reality. In America, Jungkook is celebrated. In Korea, his celebration feels cautious. The numbers, the cultural impact, and the global attention all align to prove that he is not only relevant but dominant in the US music scene. Yet Korean media hesitates, clinging to disbelief as though it could change the truth. But disbelief cannot erase dominance. And dominance is exactly what Jungkook has achieved. His songs don't just chart, they take over. His presence doesn't just attract attention, it commands it. His name doesn't just appear, it resonates. These are the markers of an artist who has crossed the threshold of mere popularity and entered the realm of cultural significance. America has already seen it. The world has already seen it. It is only Korean media that struggles to catch up.